Good morning. It is Jillian. Let me get situated here. It is Jillian on this beautiful Sunday, Father's Day. And I wished my dad a happy Father's Day. He's doing great, as well as he could be. And, it's a nice day out. And so I didn't do a Facebook Live yesterday because I really just wanted to process all of last week. Because releasing my book and then working on my next book and, living my life and make sure that my dog is surviving the COVID and all of that. And getting used to all the new things that are going on in the world, it definitely, needed and warranted some time on my own. And so anyway, and I don't always say, I'm going to take a day off. But when I do, I do. So anyways, in my book that's out right now, I do talk about how do you know when you've been healed and sealed type of thing. And it does come from the body, mostly the perspective from the body of how you know you've been healed and sealed, because you don't have your cancer, disease, and chronic illness. You don't have any of the major issues, though you don't know really what's going to come up as far as physically. And we're such a body world, everything's related to the body, that it's hard to know exactly how a healed person would interact with the world and how they would relate to the world from the mind and the spirit. The mind does change. You've seen some of my evolution as far as my writing, my thought process and what issues I put myself into, the battles that I take myself out of or put myself into. You've seen my evolution there. But there's another type of evolution, another indicator to know when you've been healed and sealed. And we've been talking about visceral gut reactions. Good morning, Fabed. And visceral gut reactions, that's your gut letting you know there's something wrong or somebody's challenging your truth, your perception. Okay, and we all have them. Some of us ignore them. I know before the J juice, I had a lot of visceral gut reactions from so many perceptions. Some that I really had evidence that somebody did something to me. And there were perceptions I had of people, places, and things that told me that I needed to stay away from, though I never had any personal encounter with certain people, places, and things. But something told me in my head to stay away from this, and that. Okay, so when we have perceptions of people, places, and things, where do we get it from? From personal experience or from what we've read, third person, or from, read or someone gossiped to us. And then there's a trauma attached to it. Okay, so right now you're seeing on a global level, major trauma attached to the COVID-19. On a global level, you're seeing major trauma attached to the stock market. Okay, and it produces a visceral gut reaction. And that visceral gut reaction is letting you know that, oh my God, there's a trauma. Now the body must go into this fight or flight. And this is where hormones come to surface. And sometimes they stay at the surface. Okay, so lately, within the last couple of years, I think last year I had a fight with the media. And I even took it as far as going to court against somebody last year. They never showed up. I'm not going to say her name, not because I've been court ordered, because I have no desire to put a dog in that fight. She's already fighting some battles that she's created. And so I'm not putting myself out there, putting her name out there. But some of you know who I'm talking about. And that's all I'm going to say. I showed up to court to fight a battle out. She never showed up. End of story. It was worth me flying out and meeting her at that courtroom. And when someone doesn't show up to court to battle their case out, you know, they had no dog in that fight. They knew they were wrong and they couldn't hold anything against me. So anyways, that whole situation is done with and over with. The reason why I brought it up, so you guys understand that I have gone through my battles. And one of the battles you guys have seen, which is through the media battles out there. And they create trauma. The media creates so much trauma in people that some people don't get over it. Well, you know, now as I've been doing all my research and I've been going through the healing process, I'm able to release, and I don't purposely go to sites where they're purposely talking smack about me, but I can go and hear people's names and see what they say, and it doesn't produce a visceral gut reaction. And at some point down the road, I'm not going to be referencing those traumas of whatever happened to me from me rolling out the J-juice. It's not going to come up as any part of the conversation or even as a proof. Now, I'm going to write about it in my next book. So that way it's there in print and I'll never have to reference it again. And then guess what? Since it's in print and you guys have seen some of the public battles that I've been through, the traumas, and that you've seen that, okay, she acknowledged it, it's there, and now it's time to move on. And so right now you're seeing my healing process to where I am working on or not even experiencing visceral gut reactions from past experiences on certain things. That is actually a sign of the healing process. Where at this point, sometimes you have to cut people out temporarily because you're still processing. Like I had to cut people out in my life because I'm still processing my relationship with them. And sometimes it's better to, where you know that they have contributions to the world. You know, people come from a very, very like pure place, but the way they manifest their intentions comes off very imbalanced. And so that's what I'm coming to terms with, is that I know everyone really is coming from a very, very amazing place. They're coming from a very pure and benevolent place because it's like they want to better the world. You obviously know that you know your time is worth something, so you want to get some kind of compensation. I understand that, and I get that, and that's me too. Nothing's for free in this world. Everything does cost some kind of money or your time, and so coming from that point of view, if I still can't unblock somebody, if I still can't really bring them into my world, then it means I'm still processing my interaction with them. So that shows that obviously I'm not 100% healed and sealed, okay? And I don't think I ever said I was, but I'm thinking, how would I know? Because looks alone is not going to tell somebody they're 100% healed and sealed. It's a personal thing because everybody has specific experiences in their relationship to people, places, and things that only they know they have a visceral gut reaction. Because some people will hide their visceral gut reactions because they don't want people knowing their weaknesses. I know people like that, to where you mention something and then they draw in a breath. They don't say anything. They don't want to show their cards. And then they move on to the next subject matter. But you know that there was a visceral gut reaction because you heard the breath being drawn in as if you almost shocked them, but not really. They're keeping their composure. And I know that because I know some of these people that I deal with, and I know how they act. And when someone keeps all of their cards so close to the vest, when you don't want to show your cards, it's because you're trying to keep control, maintain control. And that is a defense mechanism that's very, very popular with those that have been traumatized in their life, is they now maintain so much control that nobody knows really what their weaknesses are. And that in of itself, you know, is obviously an evidence that someone has not resolved their issues. Okay. So anyways, how I know I know that I have not 100% healed and sealed is because I still have visceral gut reactions around people, places, and things. Not everybody and everything, but certain things. And so it's not about what you look like. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, obviously we have such diversity in this world that how do we can we possibly know what a real healed and sealed person looks like? And so that's why that's not going to be the most major indicator is, are you proportional? Because that's just body. Then there's mind. What are you focusing on? Spirit is only what you know, is how you are conducting your life. What are you focusing your energy on? Are you putting yourself in wars out there? Do you have visceral gut reactions that you don't acknowledge, that you hide behind, tox, or what is it? Detoxes. You hide behind concoctions. You hide behind drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever. And so I've discovered, just by looking from the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm going through profiles out there, people that I've interacted with that were really some major stuff. And I'm just like, I don't get visceral gut reactions. I understand where they're coming from, these people, but some people I haven't unblocked because I still have a trauma around that situation that I haven't fully processed yet. Well, how can you process this? How do you resolve something with people who don't acknowledge any ownership? And that's one of the major questions of the day is, can you still move on when someone doesn't own their shit, that did something, or what you perceived has done something to you? And they could have been reacting from their perception of you because of what you put out there, what perceptions you put out there. Okay. And they're perceiving you from that point of view. And maybe they haven't gotten to know you, or maybe, they didn't want to reach out because it's just not their modus operandi to reach out to anybody. No one kisses their ass, and they don't kiss anybody else's ass. Right. So how do you move on? Well, it takes time. It's like, I don't assume that because I say that, okay, I moved on and they're great and wonderful. Everyone is great and wonderful in their own way, but many people have imbalances. Many people have issues. Many people have unresolved past history that they can't possibly bring me into their world because they can't even get past their own shit in their own world and their own families and their own stuff. So there's no sense in me pushing myself or trying to force any type of relationship or acceptance or whatever. It's like, at this point, I need to process. I have no idea when I'm going to be okay with some of the things that I perceive were done to me in the past. I have no idea when that's going to happen. But there are certain things that I'm able to get over that I'm like, okay, I get it. They're coming from a benevolent point of view. The reason why they said this and that out there, and that's fine. I'm not going to be anybody's karma. They're going to be their own karma. So if they find that they need to have a change of heart and they change how they do their business model, they change the way in which they deal with people, places, and things, hey, that's great. And I'm fine. What they've done to me, isn't so deeply embedded, deeply rooted. So it's easier to get over. Some of you have some real trauma you've had around people, places, and things, and it's going to take some time. And it's okay. Okay. I mean, when I first discovered this whole, when we first were introduced to this whole BLM stuff and the riots and Antifa and all these different political stuff, it was difficult. It was difficult to see from a point of view until I fully processed my own issues. And then that was how I was able to really relate to some of the politics that are out there and some of the traumas that some cultures have gone through. And I know also what the media and what our government contributes to re-traumatizing populations. But that's not my issue. I just know that this is where it's coming from. Some people are going to take a while to evolve and get past history where history doesn't run them. But some people will not actually meet their maximum potential because they're going to die before they're really able to evolve at their highest level. And so that's part of the J, just realizing that some people are still in the evolution process and they might not make it to the point of where they actually evolve to their potential, their 100% potential. And it's not my battle. It's not for me to say whether or not they need to evolve it to this level to where they have to be, forgiving and 100%, accepted and no issues with anyone, people, places, or things and all that. And so it's like, it's being comfortable with knowing that everyone's at different stages of evolution and belief systems. And I can only exemplify through my life, which means I'm not going to be too exciting. Do you realize that the exciting people out there are the ones that are emoting, the ones that are having the major issues with their hormones, where they're talking about, their activism, how someone's done something to them, how they're a victim all the time, or they're a predator. I mean, Some people are very proud to be a predator, and they're great at going like, yeah, let's go in and terrorize this person. Let's go and bully this person. So some people are very proud of being a victim. Some people are very proud of being a predator. And, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do or say. But I know a major indicator is when I'm able to deal with things that used to give me a very major gut visceral reaction, and I have no dog in that fight. And that's my favorite little saying that I've heard from somewhere else, that I have no dog in that fight. It's a horrible euphemism when you think about where it comes from, because we shouldn't be dog fighting. But that really is the case. It's like, and that's why I've said where, I really have no attachment to all these flags. I mean, even the American flag, I love the American flag, but there's these perceptions. There's these crazy perceptions of the LGBT flag. There's a crazy perception around the Juneteenth flag. There's a crazy perception around the American flag, the Confederate flag, all these different flags. Everyone has this perception around them. And if people are going to have PTSD come up from these perceptions of these flags, I'm okay with not flying them, and I'm okay with flying all your colors. I don't care. Either way is fine to me, because I have absolutely no emotional attachment, because I embody the land that I live in. I embody the rules and the laws of my society. Do I need to wear an insignia to say what my beliefs are? Not really. I don't really need to advertise who I am. Who I am is how I conduct myself in society. Who I am is all of my resolved traumas, which means that you're not going to see me emoting, and so I'm not going to be very exciting. And that's really what our society is run by, is people who are so imbalanced, and that's where the art world comes from. That's where all the YouTubers come from. That's where all of the activism and the money and the activism and the politics is getting people to emote and touching those PTSDs and plucking those strings, and then people start reacting, and then people throw money at them to reinforce those traumas. And then that's why I see our society not evolving at an exponential level to the next level, because it's the addiction of plucking people's traumas. And it's, I'm just going to live my life. I'm going to chronicleize my journey. So you see that once you're done getting off of your soapboxes out there, once you guys are done emoting and righting the wrongs in your way, whatever it is, at some point it's time to look within and deal with your body, mind, and spirit on a personal level that you can't even show people unless you're willing to go in and say, hey, I had an issue with this person and they did this, and this to me. And so now I have no visceral gut reaction to this person anymore. I mean, are people going to show their cards and lay their cards out? No. Most of you don't want people to know what traumas you've dealt with. Most of you don't want people to know what issues you've dealt with, and that doesn't run you anymore, because it's none of people's businesses. It's none of their business. And then, you don't want to call people out either, because it's like, why re-traumatize your friends? They know they've done some wrong things. People in your world, they know they've done it. Do you need to remind them? Not necessarily, but if you want to write them a letter or send them an email and say, hey, this is my journey and you have to be part of it, and this is what I think, feel, and whatever about our interaction 10 years ago, and then you don't expect them to acknowledge or even, own their shit, and then you move on. And that's what I've done. I've done emails to some people that I know they're never going to own their stuff. But when I lay out what exactly was my issue and still take responsibility that, yes, I'm an adult and I own my stuff as an adult, but this is what was not right to me back then. And then move on and say, hey, so this is why I'm doing it this way, or why I'm acting this way, or why I'm choosing to cut off communication, because right now it's not healthy for both of us. Anytime you have some kind of weird interaction with anyone where it's like this love-hate type of thing, there's no mutual respect. There's no relationship when there's no mutual respect. Okay? And so that's why I've really that's why I really focus on the whole love-hate dynamic, which is a chemical reaction. It is a name of a chemical reaction that is like an attraction and a repel. And then you have people that mix love and hate together, and then they attract and they repel. So they then do acts like, like violence, and they're also attracted to the person at the same time. So it's a messed up, love-hate relationship with what they have with people who are putting out vibes of love and hate and whatever. So that's why I focus on the whole love and hate, and why mutual respect really is the foundation, because there's so many imbalances that come from love and hate. And when you have when that is the very foundation of your relationship with anyone, the love and hate, there really is no room for another evolution, because conditions change all the time. And so it's like you can't depend upon that alone. There's got to be more. So you all will figure out your journey. You all will figure out all of, your visceral gut reactions around people, places, and things. And then that'll be your journey. And so right now you're seeing people talk about their physical testimonies on the J Juice, but you're not going to see a lot. You're going to see some people that are very open with their mind and their spirit testimonies, especially when it comes to relationships and how they've dealt with the past stuff and now they're dealing with stuff that's present. But you're not going to see a lot of people divulging really what has run them for such a long time. Okay? There are some more accepted traumas like racism, okay, where people are going to mention racism this, racism that, and that's, okay, that's easy and acceptable, because most people out there have a shared experience with racism in some way, shape, or form. But some of you have a very personal, visceral gut reactions around people, places, and things, and it's not going to be something you're going to want to wear on your sleeve or advertise to anybody, because, some of it is still raw. You don't want to hear the opinions or somebody's judgment on it. And that's when, you still have issues around it, when you can't really put it out there. And the reason why some of you really want to put it out there, because you don't really want to embarrass people that you know, unless you really feel like that somebody needs to be known to everybody. But you can allude to certain things as far as just base, I don't know, like the general issue. But as far as the details, sometimes those are not important. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. And some people will, if details are important, then you go to the police, okay? If they run you that well, or they run you that extreme. So, it's a journey for us all, but the visceral gut reactions from perception is a major indicator. It is a major indicator of whether or not you've been healed and sealed. It's not just the physical. It's not just, oh yeah, I'm skinnier, or I'm fatter, or I've gained weight, or I've lost weight, or I got rid of this issue or this physical issue, because that's still a very body. Now it's mind and then it's spirit. Okay. And so we really want to be, what I see as a J Juice is more than just body. Because remember, our society is run by body image, plastic surgery, Botox, working out, cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And so, yes, we are starting to reverse all of those things without having to go to modern medicine, holistic, and other stuff, and plastic surgery. But now evolution is bringing forth the mind and the spirit. And what does that look like? What are the indicators? Well, let me give you a clue. The indicators are visceral gut reactions to perceptions. And so when a person finally takes themselves out of all the activism, and they now can figure out that they're not paranoid anymore, that someone's out to get them, or the government's out to kill them, or whatever, and they start paying attention to themselves and their healing process, that's when you know that you've tapped into that higher form. Because let me tell you, if someone wanted to kill you, you'd be dead. Okay? So the fact that the fact that I have access to different law enforcement, the fact that I know how to use different methods of protection, the fact that I'm a fighter is right there, its own deterrence. And the fact that I have something like J Juice that really could help the world if people would just get out of their own way. Okay? So, the capacity of how you protect yourself. The fear out there of chemtrails and 5G and all these different paranoid things, New World Order, communism, all that stuff, it's self-inflicted. It's self-inflicted. And so if you just focus on you and your own perceptions of the world and how to reverse some of the paranoia, okay, and mind your own business. if somebody is breaking the law over here, or Jeffrey Epstein did do something or whatever, who cares? Not that, I mean, not that you want to discount, but do you have a dog in that fight? If you have a dog in that fight, fine, fight that fight. But if you have no dog in that fight, and it's just bringing up PTSD because maybe you were molested or something, okay, that's something that you're going to have to deal with as far as the J juice to purge out that trauma. What happens is people are so injured and so traumatized and so broken that they have to fight all these fights that have nothing to do with them, and then they die in the system, fighting something that they could have really healed from at the cellular level, but they didn't know because either they were never introduced to J juice or they refused to even acknowledge that J juice had some kind of benefit to them personally. So I get how this whole society works. I get it. And when you understand that from the micro to the macro, then you can start making these analogies, okay? Like the other day, somebody, in my town posted an article about all these weird explosions that happen, not just fireworks, but weird explosions. Hey, Diana, thank you. But these weird explosions. And I'm like, there's so much stuff going on, geologically, and yeah, when there is pressure building up below the surface, it comes out in volcanoes, it comes out in fissures and explosions. And we do have, gas lines, and we do have all this different infrastructure. And so at some point when I eat a bunch of garlic, which I don't usually do, I'll get this pressure and then I start farting. Well, that's no different than, when we have these weird explosions that nobody can really figure out, but then maybe we need to check out the industries in the area and see what kind of chemistry they're injecting into the earth that's causing this pressure of an explosion somewhere else. Who knows? Is it industry, or is it the fact that we're going through a geological shift? So either way, you can start now seeing how the world works by knowing your own body, mind, and spirit and the intricacies of your body. Okay? When there's pressure in your body, you fart. When there's so many toxins building up, and then you have these different tumors and pimples and blackheads, that's all this pus and all this crap the body's trying to expel, and it comes out through your skin. And that's why you see some people with major skin issues, because they have so many imbalances in their body that it has to come out through their skin, hair, nails, all of that. Okay. And so once you know your body, you'll understand what's going on geologically, because it's an infinite fractals from down to the cellular micro, all the way out to the universe, and the breathing, the expansion and the contraction of the universe, which is basically your body breathing, the micro and the macro. It's like your lungs. The universe expanding and contracting is like your lungs. Okay, so you'll see connections everywhere. It won't matter how many contexts are. There's like thousands and billions of contexts, from all the professions to all the certifications to every single occupation. It is all relatable to the human body. See, how do you make, like when the butterfly, what is it, the chaos theory, where the butterfly flaps its wings and then there's tornadoes. Everything is connected. Now, to what degree is based upon the proximity, and there is a formula to that. Jade is such a good companion in bringing us to earth, to accepting and minding my own business and letting it all go of all paranoia. Okay, so Diana says, JJ is such a good companion in bringing us and me down to earth, centering, accepting, and minding my own business and letting go of all paranoia and excess emotional perception of life. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It brought a lot of peace, but then when you're peaceful, you're not very exciting. So I'm stuck between, like, I want to get the word out where I want to go and drop my links everywhere, but then I don't want to shove it down everyone's throat either. And so, when I have something really thoughtful to say in some group or in some article on some public page, I'll say what I say, and people are like, oh my God. And then they look at who I am and they're like, oh, this is the crazy JJ girl, but is she really that crazy? Okay. And so the best marketing without me having to go and be relevant and cannibalize somebody else or cause a drama is to just be myself. I'm going to be here for a while, so there's no sense in me upsetting homeostasis to get people to watch who I am and what I'm doing. It was already done 2 years ago. Dr. Phil helped me in a great way. I helped him too, even though it wasn't characterized correctly. But then, they reacted. Their perception of me was whatever perception I put out there at the time. And that's okay. Now, I've given people enough information about fact and perception and fiction or truth and all of that, and how the media spins stuff and the English language and breaking it all down. And so now, if a person is really highly evolved, they'll understand there's a lot more to what this world is aside from hearsay and gossip. And so, and then we just live and we offer some very balanced communication to where people are just like, oh my God. And then and then you create your own little hashtag, and that's the best way that you can exemplify and still put out there that J-Juice was the catalyst to your balances. And that's the best way I could say, because you can't shove J-Juice down anyone's throat, especially when people are so comfortable in their perceptions of the world, because they don't see a problem with it. And that's fine. Everyone's beautiful who they are. So anyways, that's, oh Lordy. So in this next book that I'm writing, what is this next book called? It's a working title. Breathe in revolution, breathe out evolution. From revolution to evolution is this next book. Because yes, you'll be breathing in all of your friends' revolutions. Okay? And then and when I read articles or read people's reactions to articles, I breathe in all of their revolutions and their reactions and all of that, and then I breathe out evolution. I apply some kind of balanced perspective and gently call people out on their craziness, their hydras on their head. And some people are not about being called out of the hydras on their head, and so then I do a block and delete, because there's no point in trying to change someone's mind when they're very, very tunneled. And that's okay. So anyways, you guys have a great Father's Day. Enjoy your fathers. I wish mine was closer, but unfortunately he's all the way on the West Coast and I'm over here. But he'll do his thing. My husband's hanging out with other dudes that are fathers as well, and he's enjoying his life. I'm enjoying my life, just trying to figure out the world, how to say the same thing in a different way. That's been my continuous everyday journey, is how do I say the same thing in a different way? Because there's so many contexts out there. There's so many contexts out there that I have to be able to reach everybody on all different levels of context, because some people are so tunneled in their one context that I have to be able to reach them in that context. And that is the beauty of J-Juice, is understanding how to acknowledge all the context and speak to all the context. Okay, and contexts are perceptions. They are different worlds. They are people's truths. They're not facts. Facts are people, places, and things. Perceptions are all the adjectives, adverbs, and if a word is an adjective, adverb, and a noun, it means it's now a context word. There is no fact in that word, because it can mean several different things, several different people, and the substantiation is how it's categorized in parts of speech. If a word is just a noun and it can't be an adverb, an adjective, or a verb or anything, it's just a noun, okay, and it's not anything else, then that would be a fact. It's indisputable. Okay? So even the English language can give you the keys on what is perception and what is a fact. All right? So you guys have a great day. Enjoy the beautiful hot-ass weather, because it's going to be hot. And try to remain calm. The COVID is still out there, so do the J-Juice. Try not to get caught up in the politics too much, or your hydra is going to show. Okay? And purge out your trauma. Just purge it out. All right? Talk to you guys later. Thank you for listening. Bye.